Steven, I don't know about you, but I am already annoyed by this light the beam thing.
It's been happening all season, though.
Yeah, I listen. Call me ignorant. I wasn't aware about it until this Warriors Kings, series is about to ramp up, and I thought
Really?
that people are acting like this is like, oh yeah, light the beam, the Kings. What? What?
I don't know the point of it, but it's been their thing, man.
It's their thing, but I don't get it. Like, oh, let's just light the arena up, and
Yeah, I don't really get it either.
I thought Steve Kerr had the best line. Was like, oh, so that just lights the arena up. That's cute.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense. I don't even think they know like what it means really. Like I don't know the what's the Kings slogan going into these playoffs? Isn't it like
Fear the
fi-
roar, or
fear the roar, or find your
which
roar, or something like that?
which was the I think was the '90s slogan of the Lions, the Detroit Lions. So just regurgitating old stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we're just talking shit because the Warriors lost last night, and we'll get into it today. What's going on, Steven? Stephen Langford, Derek Papa, just your opinion, man. Coming to you on a Sunday morning after the Warriors lose the first game of the series. We'll get to it all today. We'll talk a little bit about the draft as well. Before we move on, I got to correct myself because the last podcast I sounded like an idiot. I want to
Why?
get two things right because I strive for correctness, Stephen. I don't want to be
Okay.
wrong on this thing.
Okay.
Jackson Smith Njigba. That is the name
Okay.
of the Ohio State receiver. Okay.
Okay.
And should have known this. Ben Simmons out for the playoffs. Should have known that.
Ooh. Ooh. I should have too.
Yeah, and I knew that, but for whatever reason, I totally forgot about it. But we should know that with Ben Simmons at this point. So, want to correct ourselves right out the bat. Steven, what'd you think of the
Hmm.
game yesterday? Just
Oh,
you know, I will we'll get into the whole NBA playoffs and everything. It was a great start to it yesterday, but Warriors lose the first game. Just your thoughts.
well, no, it was I mean, wasn't it exactly how we expected it to go? Like, I'd say, like, the game from yesterday that did not go how I thought it was going to go was Knicks Cavs. I thought the Cavs would take that game in game one, but like we said going into this game, it was going to be a shootout. Like, these teams don't really play defense. Both have some of the best most high scoring offenses in the league. Like, that's what it was going to be. And I thought it made for a very compelling game, very entertaining. Um, there were some stretches where it felt like um, the Kings were starting to make some mistakes, but at the same time, the Warriors were making some mistakes. And unfortunately, like a lot of road games, man, it came down to the late game execution. And whether it's like a couple of errant shots again from Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson, it's crazy how often now I look at the shot clock in the fourth quarter just to see like what time they're taking these shots, these three pointers, and they had more than enough time to run some set plays. Andrew Wiggins missing that key three late, and also just a big credit to the Kings though.
Hold on.
Uh, what
What'd you call him? Did you say
what
Andrew Wiggins or Andrew Wayans?
did I say? Wiggins?
Yeah, it's not.
My
It's not a
bad.
Wayne. It's not. He's not Damon or Marlon or Sean.
He's not.
No.
He's not Keenan Ivory. Keenan Ivory
Keenan
Wiggins.
Ivory. I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Okay, that's my bad. So that's already a mistake. 3 minutes into the podcast, but
I'll correct you
I
next
thought,
podcast for that one.
but overall, man, like we can get into the details, but overall, I thought it was a very compelling matchup, and I just can't wait for the next few games of this series. What about you?
Well, first and foremost, let's give props to the Kings because
All right.
all of the shots and aerial shots of Golden One Center, it looked awesome. It looked like the whole city came for that first playoff series since 2006. So props to the Kings. And yeah, lighting the beam, whatever the hell that thing is, you guys deserve it at the end. So congrats to you. But for me, initially this series was fun. And after last night, it's past the point of being fun. It's on now. Let's start taking this shit seriously. Um, and also, I want to get into what's going on with like 50 Cent showed up and E40, I guess, was thrown out of the game. We'll get to that a little later. But just first and foremost, the game. Um, it looked as if the Warriors started off being their old playoff selves and then kind of reverted back to being the regular season Warriors that we've seen for most of the season. And Warriors lose game one. Only the fourth time they've lost the first game of a series under Steve Kerr. It's
It's
actually the
crazy.
first time they've lost a game one of a first round series since 2013.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's been a while. Um,
And who was that
so
against? The Nuggets?
the Nuggets. Yep. If you remember, I forget who it was, but that was a close game too, and they lost like with seconds left. Guy
I
kind of
remember
layup
actually.
shot.
I remember watching that at my friend's house
Yeah.
over in Chico one time. Yeah, yeah,
So kind of new territory for the Warriors, but this whole season's kind of been new territory. So
right,
first quarter, kind of was a little turnover prone a little bit. I didn't think Steph Curry was his normal self to start out. Klay Thompson started hot. Yeah, like I said, they had turnovers, but the Kings kind of didn't look playoff ready as well. They were just kind of amped up for the moment, but both teams were even. That first quarter, they're tied up 29. And then the Warriors kind of look like their playoff selves as far as playing defense. I thought Kevon Looney did a great job at Sabonis. Um, Even though he did score 8 points in that first quarter, it all didn't look very smooth to me. Like
right.
Kevon Looney was up in his stuff, so was Draymond Green. He was going like really hard, just shooting it very like hard to the basket and missing a lot. They held him to only 4 points the rest of the game, so that was good in itself. But I thought the Warriors controlled most of the first half and even, kind of half of the third quarter, and things just started to shift. Um, what really favored the Warriors, I thought, in the first half was their experience, and the Kings looked young. And like I said, Steph wasn't great, but Wiggins coming back in the first quarter, he looked great. He started the first half going 5 for 8 for 12 points, 3 blocks, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. And then everything he looked like he missed, 3 months of basketball after that.
Right.
I thought Mike Brown, knowing the Warriors, helped a lot too, because in that second half interview with Malika Andrews, he said that we got to change the pace of the game. We got to play their pace. We got to go fast. And they did just that.
Yeah.
So even though the Warriors had 2 10-point leads in the third quarter, they lost the game in the third quarter. I thought the game flipped when Andrew Wiggins went to the line. There was 2:18 left in the third quarter, and he missed 2 free throws, and that's when things started to shift. The Kings ended the third quarter on a 15-4 run, and in the fourth quarter, the Warriors looked like the regular season Warriors, where they couldn't defend at all. When they were defending too hard and sending guys to the line. They had no answer for De'Aaron Fox, who had 38 points, and Malik Monk, who had 32. Steph Curry was electric in the fourth quarter. He was amazing. That one shot he had in the left corner where Klay Thompson was running out of time, and he just threw it to him with like a second left, and he just got it out there. It was incredible. Also, the layup where he fell down was amazing. But, the Warriors need to be more than just Steph Curry. And that's the thing. In the first half, I thought that they looked like it was a good all-around team effort because Steph wasn't having his best game, but yet they were playing great defensively, and Jordan Poole was carrying his own. Klay Thompson could have shot better a little bit, but I thought everybody was doing a fine job. And then just defensively, they fell apart. And it's mainly because De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk were shooting threes and playing fantastic. Harrison Barnes, too. Mike Brown being the Kings coach and knowing the Warriors so well, I think changed the second half because he knew that they had to go at the Warriors level of just, like we all talk about the Warriors going, what is it? You guys coined it on the morning show, DEFCON 3 in the third quarter. That's their thing.
Yes, DEFCON 3.
That's what the Kings did last night. And the worst thing that could have happened to the Warriors was the Kings to go on that 15-4 run to end the third quarter. The Warriors needed to shut that place up going into the fourth quarter. The fact that they got up 91-90 going into the fourth just ruined everything because then fuck me. The Golden One center goes nuts going into that quarter, and the Warriors defense just couldn't stop them. And that's something that's got to change. I know that everyone talked about it afterwards. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr all had the mentality of we're in a good spot. I think they kind of treated this game like let's see how it goes. We'll do our normal thing. We'll play hard, and we'll make our adjustments in the second half. Or not in the second half, but as the series progresses. So I'm a little disappointed because I thought that they had that game and they looked like the more poised team for most of the game. And then they just fell back to being the Warriors of the season. So I
Right.
know that they can make the adjustments and, look like the better team in this series. I'm not worried. It's not a terrible loss, but you would have liked to have that game at least last night and then, you know, put the pressure on the Kings in game 2 because then you're playing with house money at this point. To go back to Chase Center at 1-1 is the ideal thing now. And
Yeah.
they kind of have to. They don't have to because we know they're capable of, winning however many games in a series, but it's kind of important now for them to steal a game to show that they don't have the same road struggles that they've had for most of the season.
Yeah, and I just the more that I like think about it and the more that I look back, I mean the Warriors scored 123 points. I'm of course like Steph didn't have the night that you'd want him to have. Klay Thompson was a little cold shooting in spurts. Andrew Wiggins obviously 1 for 8 from three, but like I just look entirely at the defense. Oh, and offensive rebounding too, and get the Kings getting second chance points. Like that's what I look at. I When I think about last night's game, really what I think about the Warriors, they kind of spread their points around. There was no one player who was really, going off for stretches. Like you'd have Steph make a tough three, you maybe have Clay make a tough three, and some of them would be misses as well. Like I look at the defense. So when I think about that game last night, I can't stop thinking about just De'Aaron Fox taking the ball up court, getting a screen by Sabonis, and then just trying to work around that. Like I thought De'Aaron Fox was unbelievable last
Yeah.
night. Like that is really what I chalk it up to. Like the Warriors, of course, could have been better offensively, and you need to be in an offensive shootout like that. But I just can't help but think of them just letting him get to the paint as easily as he was, and going up to possibly try and draw a foul. And also Malik Monk too, the same type of thing, scoring off the bench. Like all those guys scoring off the bench. The bench was totally outplayed by the Kings. The Kings bench totally outplayed the Warriors. And like when I saw that stat line pop up on ESPN with Malik Monk, and he had like I think he had 27 points on just 9 field goal attempts. I think he made 7 of 9, but he also had 7 free throws up to that point, and we're barely even into the fourth quarter. I'm trying to remember when that graphic was put up, but I'm pretty sure it was like going into the fourth quarter. And that just shows you right there, like these guards were just doing whatever they wanted. I thought that was a huge issue. And then also in the first half, the size was coming back to bite him a little bit because it felt like they were real. Whatever Alex Led was in, they were really getting to him. It felt like he had a couple of just wide open, easy dunks, just driving down the lane, or cutting down the lane rather, and just having an easy pass to him. I thought they gave him a lot of easy opportunities on defense, and I think it's something that they will correct. Like this is what being in a 7 game series is all about. Making the adjustments, and I'm sure Steve Kerr will. I just wonder what the adjustment is going to be. I don't know if they had like an emphasis on saying, "Hey, we're going to stop Sabonis here and let the other guys score," because, well, De'Aaron Fox is their star player. Like, despite the accolades of Sabonis, Fox is the guy who's the guy who can beat you. So I wonder if they're going to do something to try to at least neutralize what Fox is going to do. I don't know, maybe switch to a zone or something like that. I don't really know, but that's what I think of when I think of that loss last night. I don't even think of the Warriors on offense. I just think of them getting gassed on defense and then continuing to draw fouls. A lot of fouls were being called for the Kings late in that game. Not obviously going to put it on the officials in that one, but they were pretty much getting any call that they could possibly get.
Yeah, the biggest thing I thought while I was watching the game
The
was,
Steph
damn,
one, dude. The Steph one. The Steph where he's didn't he? I think he got just called for like a. I think he just got
it was
called
after the
for a.
challenge, right?
Yes, he got called for like a blocking foul, I think, and it was just like what?
Well, no, the one I'm thinking about is Steve Kerr won the challenge late in the game, and then right away Steph Curry fouled De'Aaron Fox while he was attempting a
Yes, yes,
shot.
yes, yes, yes.
Um, the biggest thing that I was thinking while watching the game was they miss Mike Brown. The Warriors
Mm,
do because they needed to make defensive adjustments in the second half, and they did not.
right.
Um, and that was Mike Brown's specialty last season. The moment was not too big for De'Aaron Fox or Malik Monk. They were better shooting last night than Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were. And Steph was amazing. Klay was great at the start, but then kind of fell off a little bit. Um, Offensively, I'm not worried. I thought that going into this series, the Kings were not known to be a great defensive team the whole season, but neither were the Warriors, honestly, and that's not something we're used to. So I think they'll make their defensive adjustments. Maybe have Andrew Wiggins a little bit more on De'Aaron Fox. Um, Going back to Andrew Wiggins real quick. So in the first half, he was great. Second half, he was 2 for 8 for 5 points, and he had that wide open three to win the game there and missed it. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, he's got to make that shot." He does, but also that's a lot of basketball he's missed in quite some time. And I thought that he looked great in the first half and was playing, you know, motivated and had a lot of energy. And then the lack of playing time just caught up with him in the second half. So I would like to see Andrew Wiggins in the starting lineup going forward after last night. I thought that he showed that his body, is able to keep up with the pace and everything. But I don't want him shooting threes like he was last night. I think that if they're going to do anything, he's got to be like last year where he's going in the post and slamming the ball. So I think they will make the proper adjustments. Um, it was last night was not a daunting task because the Warriors can handle themselves in any arena. But this year that has been not the case because of the road struggles. Nevertheless, last night was tough just because the magnitude of the situation for the Kings being, you know, so gone from the playoffs, and last night was just a party in Sacramento. So it was tough, but they had the upper hand for most of that game, and I felt like they just got a little comfortable with themselves at times. Um, so this is the true test. The Kings showed last night that they are up for the moment
Right.
and that they are going to take this seriously when playing the defending champions. Now it's just a matter of, will the Warriors' playoff experience be the bigger factor in the series of how to adjust during a series? Or, is it just the Kings are the better team at this time? I think that
Mm,
the Warriors are in a fine spot right now. I think they'll be okay. I think that Steve Kerr knows what to do, and they will make the proper adjustments going, into the game on Monday. But, you know, it's also a matter of, was last night just, where the Kings were so amped up for that first game, and will they know how to counteract whatever the Warriors throw at them? It's going to be a
yeah.
fun series. Like I said, it's past the point of being fun, but this has been really fun in the sense that it's been, kind of a chess match between Steve Kerr and Mike Brown.
Yes, like that's what makes postseason series great is every team is given that chance. And I'm thinking like, it's not even just the moments that happen toward the end of the third quarter. It's also, you know, the lack of Steph Curry when Steph Curry's not on the floor. That was their worst 5-man lineup yesterday. Just taking a look here, let me get it up. So last night, obviously the most used lineup was the starting lineup, which had 9 minutes on the floor. They were a +3, which is fine. But then anything without Steph is in the minus. No Steph or Steph -1. Without Steph -4. Steph another Steph lineup +2. Then this was the biggest one. Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney, GP2, and Jordan Poole. They were a -10 on the floor, and you know what that group was? That was the group that played towards the end of the third quarter. So really, that's the point where the Warriors may have not lost the game. I don't want to say that, but that's where it really was. That's where the Kings were let back in. That's where the door wasn't closed, where it should have been closed. And I don't know. How often do we talk about this though, man? It feels like we do this with every Warriors playoff series. They'll have one struggling game with Steph Curry not on the floor where it feels like he has to play all 48 minutes in order for your team to win. But then the next game could look completely different. I don't want these games looking different. Like I really thought it was just a I thought it was a high level game of
Oh,
basketball
it was great.
last night. Yeah, not a lot of other teams could have kept up with that one. I don't think.
No, I mean, it was a great game. It was fun. Regardless of the outcome, it
Yeah,
was a fun game to watch. And the Warriors had their chances to win the game twice. Andrew Wiggins, missed that wide open three, and Steph Curry had a chance to tie the game going into overtime, but did not make the shot. I'm not discouraged at all. Like I said, going into the playoffs, whatever happens with the Warriors this season, I'm content with the 4 championships. That being said, though, last night had me feeling a certain way where I'm like, damn, don't want to lose to the Kings. And that's not like any disparaging thing towards the Kings. Like, this is just like a nice, you know,
yep.
close rivalry between the two teams, and it'll kind of suck. But it is what it is. So I am confident that the Warriors will make the proper adjustments going into game 2. Yeah, I think that we'll see the Warriors experience show a little bit more. I'm not going to say that the Warriors are going to dominate the rest of the series. No. I think this is going to be back and forth. I saw a lot of, people last night saying like, well, Steve Kerr knows everything they're going to do now, so it's going to be a 5-game series with the Warriors winning the rest of the way. I don't see that either. I do think this is going to be a longer series just because the Warriors are not their normal selves. They are still playoff ready, but this is a formidable foe. And I think that in the end, the Warriors' experience will be the deciding factor, and also just Steph Curry and Klay Thompson being killers in the playoffs too. But they'll play better. I think they're going to be fine.
And it also comes down to who's going to make the shots late in the game. Like in the fourth quarter, I'm just forget about everything that happened in the first 3 quarters. Let's just focus on like the final 8 minutes of the fourth. Every shot the Kings were taking, they were knocking down.
Yeah.
Like that was clutch shooting if I've ever seen it. I know clutch shooting technically counts when the score is within 1 and it has like less than 5 minutes to go. I could look up those stats right now if you want. I bet you those Kings clutch point stats are right up there among the best among the postseason teams so far. But like that's what it came down. That's also what it came down to is just the Kings ultimately just made more shots when it mattered. Like every single time they were knocking down a 3, the Warriors on the other end, they'd try, but nothing great. So I was encouraged by it. Now we haven't really focused on him like we kind of touched on him, but like Andrew Wiggins in his debut. I thought he looked spry, thought he looked really energetic, but I also thought he got beat on defense a little bit.
Yes.
Malik Monk was driving down the lane and just doing what he wanted. That was not a vintage defensive performance from Andrew Wiggins. So what I'm going to look for next series or next game rather, is one, like, is he going to be? I mean, obviously, is he going to take as many threes as he did? Like, we don't really. I don't know how if they need Wiggins taking 8 threes a game.
No, we don't.
But also, like, is he going to figure this team out defensively? Because it feels like, when he got brought out to the court, crazy stat, by the way, first time in 662 games that or his first time in 662 games played that he started from the bench. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But also, like, when he steps foot on the court, he's playing one of the fastest teams in the NBA. And there were times when they just blew right by him. So they definitely got to pick some things up, man. But really, I don't know how anyone can be if a Warrior. I don't know how any Warriors fans are looking at that and thinking, well, I don't know about this series. It's not like they were dominated. It's not like they didn't figure them out. They just got beat, man. It happens in sports.
Yeah, I thought that they got the Kings' best shot last night.
Yeah.
And in the end, the Warriors could have easily won that game. So, like I said, not discouraging. And yes, Andrew Wiggins got a little gas in the second half. I think the emphasis for him going forward is he needs to be two-way Wiggs like he was last season, where he doesn't need to be shooting the ball like he was. He was playing great, but we don't need that. We need him more focused on the defensive side of the ball. And I want him on De'Aaron Fox, or I want him on Malik Monk. I want him more focused on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's going to change in game 2. I think that Klay Thompson will shoot the ball better in game 2. He's already said that. Anytime the Warriors lose a game, they always come back and are just lethal from 3. So we'll see what happens, even though they were great last night shooting. But I thought also in the fourth quarter, some of their shot selections were terrible.
Yeah.
Uh, once they lost the lead, you know, Jordan Poole was just trying to go, shot for shot with De'Aaron Fox and Malik
Mhm.
Monk. It was just
It wasn't working.
bad shot selection. I thought Klay Thompson had some bad shot selection. So did Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
That'll change. This will all change. Um, yeah, I'm not discouraged. They need to play better defense and they need to not turn the ball over. This is the common case every year with the Warriors in the playoffs. They have one stinker and then they adjust. It's just a matter of, are we going to see the Warriors teams that we've seen previously in the playoffs, or is this going to be just the team that we saw for most of this season? So I think they'll be fine. I do think it's very important that they take game two. They don't have to, but you never want to be down 2-0 in a series. And the Warriors, I don't think, ever have been under Steve Kerr. So you want to avoid that. The best case scenario is to go 1-1 and then possibly can, defend home court and be up 3-1 in this series. That would be the best case scenario, obviously, because they're down 0-1. But yeah, you don't, I mean, they're capable of tying the series up 2-2 if they go down 2-0, but you want to avoid that. You want to take this next game and defeat all of the talk about the road woes this season.
Right. And um also, like, just looking at, I just wanted to randomly give a shout out to Harrison Barnes for
Yeah.
actually
No, he played
making
great.
a three for actually making a 3-pointer and put him up by 6. Like, I remember thinking at the beginning of the game when Barnes heaved up the first 3 and he missed it. It's like that was that was the vintage Harrison Barnes in Warriors playoffs, was just getting an open 3 and missing it. So shout out
Yeah.
to him for actually knocking it down to put him up by 6, 122 to 116. But you're right, man. It's the errant shots toward the end of the fourth quarter. Like, you sparked me, man. I had to look down at the play by play and just look down at all these missed shot numbers, and you can just see within spans of seconds, within 10-second spans, you'd see maybe like 2 3-pointers heaved up by the Warriors, both misses, and the Kings get it on the other end so they could extend their lead in the fourth. It happened with Wiggins, it happened with Thompson. Uh, didn't so much happen with Curry, but it happened with Poole. It was, yeah, just it's funny, man, when you really like pay attention to what like Steve Kerr says game after game, especially after these road games, he repeats kind of the same thing. He really does. He's really a broken record on it, but he has to be because he doesn't really have another answer. It's just you know the lack of executing late in the game and not playing good defense in the fourth quarter, like not being as aggressive. I didn't think they were aggressive at all last night, and you also got to think about, like, I keep on going back to that Lakers and Timberwolves playing game, the first game one, where they went like a minute and a half without either of them making a shot towards the end of that game. Like, all had open shots and none of them made it. Like, whereas the Warriors and Kings, they had open shots and they did make them. Like, that's just, I think it just goes to show how high level of a game this was. Just, they will bounce back though. I do think they'll bounce back in game two.
I do too. And I would say the first quarter was kind of like that a little bit, where it wasn't offensively explosive to start off the game. Like I think both teams were kind of a little stale offensively, but then things picked up.
Right.
Um, yeah, like I said, I always feel encouraged after a loss when Steve Kerr says I like where we're at. I kind of compare this to last year when they were down 0-1 to the Celtics in the finals. Not gonna, they let the game slip away from them. They know what to do, and let's just see if they have still the experience to make the proper adjustments.
Yeah.
And yeah, Harrison Barnes was great last night. You could tell that he was kind of getting fiery in the fourth quarter, playing against his former team. He wants this badly, and so does Mike Brown. So I think it's going to be very interesting going forward.
And also going back to last series too, I think going back to the Celtics series, like you mentioned, and even the Grizzlies too, something that the Warriors dominated in, that the Kings kind of took advantage of last night, were the long rebounds, the long threes, when that ball would bounce so far off the rim that it's really anybody's ball, kind of at the top of the key, really. the Kings, it felt like were winning all those long rebound battles, and that's something that separated the Warriors in themselves. Kevon Looney did have a couple of moments, though. Did have a couple of those Looney moments where it's like, woo,
Yeah.
with the offensive rebound. So that's something the Kings also beat them into. That's something the Warriors need to correct next game. And sometimes, you know, sometimes that's skill, trying to read the ball off the rim, but other times that's also luck, where you just got to be in the right spot at the right time. And the Kings were at the right spot in the right time. Any time they had a chance to get that defensive rebound. It's not even the offensive ones that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that the Warriors clanked
Yeah.
that they'd more than likely get as an offensive rebound in these in the last year's postseason. So the Kings handled them there too. It's funny, man. These little patterns that you see with every series, these little things. It's like just these little moments. They could have a huge turning point in the game, and that's what happened last night.
Yep. And I am not worried at all. I think that they'll be
Hmm.
fine. It was just a reminder last night of like, oh, this series is fun. And then Kings win the first one. You're like, all right, okay, it's on now.
Yeah.
So don't need to listen to Draymond Green's podcast and have him break down everything that went wrong. We know everything, and everyone that's upset with Draymond having a podcast after each win or loss, just get over it at this point. It is what it is. He's gonna do his podcast.
He also doesn't reveal much.
No,
He
he
doesn't
doesn't.
reveal much.
Like I love when people are like, "Oh, he's giving away the game plan." It's not the game plan. It's the most like
That was
it's
a
the
thing
most
last year. That was a thing last year.
remember. Yeah, I remember that one reporter kind of egging him on, where it's just like, I understand like some of it is scheme a little bit, but also it's the most basic shit that ESPN will say. It's not breaking down the X's and O's.
The Bleacher Report journalist who
Yeah, the
was
Bleacher Report guy. I remember
the
that.
Bleacher Report journalist who did it, and then subsequently went on to write the article
Yeah.
with the headline. I'm paraphrasing, but basically said Draymond Green is giving away the game plan. I forgot about that.
No.
Oh man.
No secrets are being divulged. I will say this though. Last night, and maybe I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
I like Mark Jones. Really good job. He filled in last year for Mike Breen. If you remember, he had COVID. He did game one. Mark Jones has done a fantastic job doing college football and doing NBA play-by-play on ESPN. He also is the play-by-play man for the Kings.
Yeah.
And there were moments last night when I was listening to the broadcast where I was like, getting a lot of favoritism here. So it's not the end of the world, but also there were times where I'm just like, Mark Jones, little biased here.
We need Bob Fitzgerald to go national. We need Bob Fitzgerald to go national and have him do the Warriors home games when they're on ESPN. I did not get to listen to the broadcast much yesterday. I ended up watching this game. At a bar / restaurant. So yeah, I didn't really get to hear much of it. You would have been angry because there was no sound.
You gotta. I mean, if you're a bar having this game on in the Bay Area, put the sound on.
Yeah, turn the sound on. Where was that from? Originally?
From me at the Greek Fest.
That's right, at the Greek Fest. You wanted it at the Greek Fest when people were celebrating their Greek heritage. You're like, I want Warriors Blazers game one. Give me the sound.
Well, I love the Greek Fest and everything, and we'll be there in May. But they just had a generic, Greek CD plan. They had the TVs going with the Western Conference Finals with the Warriors and I think the Spurs. And I was like, all right, it's enough of that. Let's listen to the game.
Yeah, hopefully I won't have COVID at this one.
Yeah, hopefully not. Not gonna
brutal.
No, I thought Mark Jones did a great job last night, but it was in the back of my mind where just like he is rooting for the Kings. Definitely.
Well, yeah. Well, of course, there's going to be that little bias in there, and that's something that you can't really avoid, though. That's something you're going to have to deal with. Sorry.
I mean, at some point, pick and choose. Like, God, I can't stand when Stephen A. Smith is like all about the Kings and the little halftime reports. It's a little annoying.
Was he?
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, it's a blue and orange day. Kings basketball, New York, stand up.
Yeah. So so what? He sandwiched it with New York Knicks and Sacramento Kings.
Whenever they were like, during halftime of the broadcast and post game, he was wearing a bright orange suit and he was talking. He was giving analysis for the Kings and Warriors, but he was all about his Knicks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So there was like it looked like, and Jesse deciphered this, but at the bar, or it wasn't a bar. It's more a restaurant that just, it's more a restaurant and grill, whatever. There was a sober birthday in front of us. So
A what
um,
birthday?
a sober birthday. So someone celebrating
Oh, gotcha.
their sobriety, and
Is that
and
is that the term sober birthday?
I guess so, because I don't know.
Would it be an anniversary?
Jesse's worked in it. Yeah, yeah, but you could call it whatever you want. But
Yes, you
um,
can. Not gonna
and
knock it.
Jesse deciphered this because, well, one, they all had soda cups, and two, there were cupcakes being handed out, and I guess Jesse was looking. I guess they had like the number two on them. So,
And it
but
wasn't a 2-year-old person.
no, it was not. So it looked like there was this moment though where, and trust me, I'm getting to something with this story. There was this
I hope
moment
so.
though where one of them is like, one of them is given a, or the person who they're celebrating was given a letter and by someone, and they started to cry. I guess it was like a really emotional thing, and this is
Oh
happening like
god, during
right
the
in front of
game?
us. Not during the game. It was
Okay.
right before the game, and Stephen A. Smith was up there in his orange suit. I didn't notice that there was like a sentimental moment going on where everyone's kind of looking. I guess some people were tearing up. I wasn't even paying attention. But I guess I
It's
guess
just
someone.
it would have been hilarious if it's just you like not even noticing that, just watching Stephen A. Smith, just be like, God, look at this idiot. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, dude, I was doing a Stephen A. Smith impression. I was doing a Stephen A. Smith impression because it was like, it was maybe 20 minutes before game time, I think, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And the Knicks had just won. And the camera cuts to Stephen A. when they clearly have just asked him a question. Again, can't hear the sound. And he's just like silent. He's dead silent. And he's like doing that little epic, kind of look down, ready to make his take thing. So I started doing an impression. And I was just like, oh, I'm very good friends with Joe Lacob. Very good friends. But I don't see the Warriors winning. And like, I start doing this like Stephen A. Smith thing, kind of yelling really loud. And yeah, I guess this was in the middle of like this card being read that had everyone in the sober birthday party like all emotional, and I'm just in the background doing a Stephen A. Smith. So whenever they look back on the video, they'll probably hear that in the background.
Were they there to watch the game too?
No, no, they left. They left before the game started.
Interesting. And
Or
where did this take
yeah,
place?
it's called the Garrett. Place called the Garrett in Campbell.
A lot of was it packed?
No, not really.
God, that's so good because I was trying to find a place to watch the game last night with a friend and went to the usual spot, the Athletic Club.
Yeah.
No dice, completely
No, of course
sold
not.
out. Yeah.
You got to like reserve that. You got to
Oh
reserve
yeah,
that
I
days in advance.
I stupidly walked up and been like, any tables? And they were like, nope, standing room only. I was like, all right, never mind. I'm just gonna watch at home.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. Trying to find anything like that, but yeah. So it's not really like a sports bar, but they had a big TV. They had TVs
The
around. So
Garrett.
yeah, yeah, cool little spot.
Also noticed this last night. This is also just me being an old fuddy duddy, and
Okay.
I know
Oh, old fuddy duddy.
and I know
You're
you love that
already
term.
you're already an old fuddy duddy by calling yourself an old fuddy
I
duddy.
know, I know. That's kind of the point, Stephen.
That's like the most old fuddy duddy term you could use.
It's exactly why I said it, Stephen. Uh, the he is him phrase is just really getting old on me. That's another thing that Mark Jones was dropping last night. And again, Mark Jones did a
Oh,
great job, but
yeah.
I like you know me. I hate the term goat and all that bullshit. Like when people use social media phrases on broadcasts, I'm not a fan of just like, oh, Steph Curry, he is him.
Did he use that?
He's not the only one. Like there's a lot of guys like that drop that during stuff. Like I just I
It's
just hate
corny.
stupid phrases like that. It is corny.
It's corny. Like, let's be like, it's cool when Stephon Diggs is mic'd up and he just caught a game-winning touchdown and he looks at the camera and goes, "I'm him." That's cool, but
Nah,
like,
sure.
it's cool. It's a cool moment because it like feels like it happens organically. But like anytime, just it's now everyone is him. Whatever him or her does something, that's her. In the time of pronouns, when pronouns seem to be
Yeah.
such a hot topic, Like it's just interesting. Well, why can't he be anything else? Why can't he be a possibly they? That's what I'm gonna do.
But it's also
Inclusivity. He is they.
there you go, Steven. Um, and it's just a just a stupid phrase. It's just like Steph Curry is him. Yeah, he is him. That is his name. Like it's I don't know. I find the whole thing stupid. But then
Well,
again, like I said, I am a fuddy duddy.
the Goose, the greatest offensive outside shooter ever.
Now that's
That
not bad,
strikes
Ernie.
that strikes me as a dibs term if I've ever heard
The
one.
goose.
The Goose, yeah.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander, Steven.
What's good for the Goose is good for the gander. Never knew what that meant.
What's not good for the game of basketball is fans being thrown out of the arena. So I don't know what the deal is with 50 Cent and the Sacramento Kings. Um, last time we saw 50
That
Cent.
was so random.
Last time we saw 50 Cent, he was hanging upside down during the Super Bowl with all the blood rushing to his head while he was didn't look like the same old 50.
Yeah.
You forgot about that?
He's like 50 years old.
He's not
like,
50.
bro, I'm not 26 years old anymore, bro. I can't hang upside down like
I know.
this.
With he had his tank top on. It's like at his face, and he's just sweating.
So Whitey Gleason, by the way, the greatest offensive
Okay.
outside shooter ever. Yep, that
Got it.
sounds about right.
So apparently 50 Cent is like a staple at Kings games now.
Oh, I did
always
not know that.
I mean, knowing, my East Coast hip hop, I always thought he'd be a Knicks guy. But apparently he likes himself the Kings. It's kind of random.
Party in Golden One. Yep.
Yeah.
He's been a fixture at Kings games?
I guess so. Mark Jones said that last night too. They had all the some of the old Kings players last night. Barry Bonds showed up.
Jason Williams was there. That was cool.
Jason Williams, White Chocolate. But yeah, 50 Cent was at the Golden One Center, which is
hang on. Oh, hang on. Found something there. Well, not something about 50 Cent and the Kings. Nothing like breaking.
Yeah.
But here we go. Just sharing it now. They ink a multi-year partnership.
Okay.
Sire Spirits, they are the official champagne partner and proud spirit partner of the Kings. So is that okay? All right, gotcha. There you go. So
well, that makes sense then. That does make sense.
All right, so his spirits company and the G Unity Foundation are all partnering up. Got it.
G Unity.
Yep.
Does one Curtis Jackson make music anymore?
No, not so much. I saw him live, I think, once, and his voice just did not sound the same. He came out with Eminem once at Coachella, and he just sounded terrible.
Ugh.
Yeah, he performed "Crack a Bottle," I think, and
Let Your Body Waddle.
Yeah, it was him and Dr. Dre and 50 Cent. It was Eminem, Dr. Dre, and 50 Cent, and 50 sounded so bad. His voice was so raspy. It was terrible.
Well, he's kind of I guess an actor or producer now because he's like on Power, right?
He produces that, yeah.
Or what's the other show? Black Mafia, I want to say.
Not sure.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, our guy 50 or not 50. Even though 50's all right. Like the first album, the rest of it, other rapper with numeric numerals in his name, numbers in his name, E40, Earl Stevens, staple at Warriors games all the time. He shows up to Golden One Center last night to enjoy the game, and apparently something went down where he got kicked out. He claims that he was arguing with a woman, and then security profiled him and took him out of the arena. And if you watch the video, he's arguing with security, and Andre Iguodala is right there with him. And, I don't know what actually went down, but that's not something you want. E40 has never been the type of guy to be mean-spirited or cause a ruckus at, the Warriors arena. Now, don't know what was said, but also kind of rude to be throwing guys out of the arena like that.
Yeah, here's the Shams tweet, which had him. It says racial bias was used. Was the reason behind him being kicked out of Golden One Center midway through the fourth, and he has requested the Kings to investigate. He says a lot of things. It's I'm not going to lie to you. It's a sensitive subject. It's a crappy situation, but it is so hard to read that statement and not do it in an E40 voice. I'm sorry. It automatically, I'm not even gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
even gonna do it. Not even gonna do it.
Just
But
with a at the end.
yeah,
No, I
but
mean
yeah,
it's
he
it
basically says like he says I'm always professional. Like I don't do anything that warrants me getting kicked out of an arena. I've been to a bunch of games before, and we've seen E40. He's never been like the type that's like I don't know
trash
who would you.
talking
Yeah,
or
he's not like a Spike Lee type who's like legitimately standing on the sideline talking to the players. I don't. He's never really seen him do that. I'm not going to act like I know firsthand. But yeah, E40 getting kicked out is very. I mean, the whole racially motivated thing.
yeah.
I could obviously see that playing a factor into it. I'm really curious to see what happens with the investigation because the Kings also said they take these claims seriously and are investigating the facts and circumstances regarding the situation, as we do anytime an accusation like this is made.
Yeah, and hopefully 40 is allowed to come back to the arena for game 2 cuz Warriors like having him around, and also like it's fun. E40 is a Bay Area guy, so I'm sure he wants to have fun in Sacramento as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you hate hearing stuff when it's related to, uh, racial, but
yeah,
I hope that E40 gets to come back, and hopefully they apologize to him for whatever transpired.
yeah. No one really we can't really know. I'd like to hear from around the uh kind of area what was said or what was being said. I don't know. Like I didn't hear about this till this morning, so I didn't even know what happened.
I saw the video last night, and I didn't know what was it about, and then I read the statement that Sham Sharania put out from E40. So, unfortunate situation, and hopefully it gets rectified, and E40 gets to come back to the arena because he's a good fan. He's a good, respectable basketball fan. So is Spike Lee, and a lot of celebrities and everything. So, I hate that it's come to this point. I guess Ernie has some information. She apparently wanted him to sit down, and he said he kept it going, and then they
Said,
boot.
"Make me."
Oh, I see.
See that bothers me. Any time, like well, for one, that doesn't warrant an ejection. But also number two, I don't know, was he like in direct line of sight? Because I get really frustrated at games of this magnitude when they're as close as they are. When someone there is told to sit down, like I'm a firm believer that everyone should stand up during like a sporting event. I
No,
I, I don't
yeah,
like
just
especially if you're that close. Like I don't like the sitting down type of thing. I mean, unless you're of course you're eating or whatever, but I like standing up personally.
no, I do too, and especially when it's like you said, it's a pivotal moment in the game, and everybody gets on their feet.
Midway through the fourth quarter.
Also, that's a bullshit reason to throw somebody at. Like, if you're watching a sporting event and someone stands up, and you're like that person going, "Sit down, I can't see," then you stand up.
The security guard had to like not know who E40 was, right?
That's hard to believe.
Right?
Um, especially in the Bay Area. Uh, I I don't want to make assumptions here, but it sounded like I don't know a bad
One
Karen situation when someone's like this man is in blocking my line of view of the game.
that's yeah, I can't deal with that. Sacramento, I need to see a couple of rappers out there. The couple of guys you might I don't know if you've heard of, but one called Mozzie. I need Mozzie out there. Mozzzy. He is from Oak Park, Sacramento. He got pretty popular over the past few years, but I'd say Mozzie, and then also a guy named Hobo Johnson. I need to see Hobo Johnson at one of these games because Hobo Johnson created a song back in 2016, 2017, and it was called Demarcus Cousins and Ashley, and he basically compares his love for Demarcus Cousins and the Kings and his love to a female.
Oh,
So that's how big of a Kings fan that he is.
interesting.
I
Okay,
need to see Hobo Johnson at a game. I'm just saying, need to see him.
Hobo Johnson. I'm not
He
familiar
also
with
made a
either.
song called "I Just Want a Dog," which is great. And it's like a metaphor for him actually wanting like this is something more than just a dog. It speaks to his need for like a family life, something comfortable with security. Anyway.
That actually is deep. It's like the Marley and Me of rap songs.
Yeah, it makes you cry at the end unexpectedly. Oh, did Marley and Me just do that to me?
I'm not familiar with those Sacramento rappers, but I will say the best Sacramento rapper, rest in peace, Gifted Gab from the group Black Alicious.
What? Gifted Gab passed away?
He did, yeah.
When?
I think last year or 2 years ago.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was kind of around the same time that MF Doom died, so terrible.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Damn.
Yeah. Hold on. Now that I'm questioning myself so much now with this podcast when I say things and then I don't know if I actually got it right.
Okay, so you need me to look it up? Gift?
Just want to confirm because I'm pretty sure that is the case. Hold on.
Gift of Gab. Yes, you are correct. Back in 2021.
Yeah, he did pass away.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, he was great. Just to go over real quick of the other NBA playoff games. Fun day yesterday. The other games were, kind of blowouts between the Sixers and the Nets, especially without Ben Simmons around. And seems like that's going to be a short series. Also, the Celtics just kicking the Hawks' ass. They're that much better of a team. Obviously.
I think we kind of called those. It's really easy to call the teams like that are going to win in the Eastern Conference. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a ton of upsets. Like the Knicks and Cavs is a tough one to call, but other than that,
that may be the closest series in the Eastern Conference, honestly, because I think they're both evenly matched. There's the fun intrigue with Donovan Mitchell almost going to the Knicks, and he had a great performance. He scored the most points in a Cavs debut playoff game, so I think he scored 38, but. It was too much between Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle coming back for the playoffs, and I love Michael Wilbon after the game was over. He was like, "You got to think the Mavericks are idiots for letting this guy go." So yeah, that's gonna be a fun series. I think it'll go back and forth. That could easily go 7 between the Knicks and Cavs. And then we got a fun slate today between the Lakers and Grizzlies. We'll see the Suns and Clippers later on. We'll see the Bucks take on the Heat. And then what's the other one I'm missing?
Nuggets and Timberwolves.
Nuggets and Timberwolves. Yeah, great day of basketball.
Yeah. Do you think that like the Grizzlies are known here? Like this is what makes their games with the Warriors so compelling. Is they're not afraid to talk down to the competition, even though the competition may be the once 3-time champion turned 4-time champion Warriors. That's what I'm talking about prior to them winning last year. But now they're getting LeBron James in a series. I wonder if it's just going to start from game one right away. I wonder if the contention is going to be there because last year, like it was game one with the Dillon Brooks and GP2 thing, right?
Correct. I want to say yes.
It was game one. So I want to see if it's going to be the same thing with the Lakers and the Grizzlies. I want to see if they start talking to LeBron a little bit.
Well, I want to see, you're talking about unjustly being thrown out of an arena with E40. I want to see when the Lakers go back to Staples Center, how much of, we're going to see if Shannon Sharpe on the sidelines with the Grizzlies. And then if he gets into any situation with talking to them, I'm not having it in the playoffs. He needs to go if he is going to be on the court trying to get at Dillon Brooks or somebody. Like, no, Shannon, this is not the time for this shit. It's one thing if you're E40 and you're having a good time and some person's like, sit down. But if Shannon Sharpe's going after the opposing team's players, not having it.
Right. Yeah. That'd be funny if they brought him back if he did return. That'd be like
he will be. You're damn well sure he's going to be there.
That's going to be the ultimate. Full circle moment right there.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little fuckery before we get out of here, Steven, because I know you got to run. You're going to a softball game today, which, scene of the crime here. You're going back to where this all put you in a harness.
Well, it was my niece's softball game.
Nevertheless, Steven, you shouldn't be anywhere near a softball game.
I know, right? but again, I'm going there as a warning. Like these kids are growing up, possibly playing this game, or it might be t-ball. I think it's t-ball actually. These kids are growing up.
Yeah, I mean it's a good warning sign, like in Arrested Development, where it's just like always leave a note, or in your case, never play softball.
Yes, I'm just saying this could happen to you.
Exactly. But I can see you just like, it's a harmless softball game and you show up with Jesse and you're having a good time and then some kid just for whatever reason hits a foul ball, softball, and then just for whatever reason just takes out your other shoulder.
I don't think they're gonna hit it hard enough to break my shoulder, but that would be pretty terrible though. It's
It
just
would be
like
terrible and
a
unfortunate.
line drive hit hard enough to break my shoulder. Yikes.
So just some latest fuckery stuff, Steven, and chime in when your interest is peaked because I know that, this is not your favorite thing right now, but let me know if you like something, all right?
Well, yeah, because nothing's happened. Anyway,
Well,
continue.
some things have happened. Like your boy Daniel Snyder. I know you're a big fan of his, but he will no longer be an owner in the NFL because he is selling the commies to Josh Harris, owner of the 76ers and the New Jersey Devils for $6 billion. So now we have a new owner in the NFL. There are like some different reporting though. Apparently that deal is not finalized yet and someone could swoop in with a bigger offer, but it sounds like the commies will be owned by a new owner pretty soon here.
Wasn't Magic Johnson a part of that team too?
Yes, he is.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, they've been.
So
Man, did they finish the last investigation on him yet? Or are they still investigating it? Because I think it's like Mary Jo White is the attorney,
I
and I know that the
honestly
investigation's been ongoing as they're selling the team.
honestly I have not kept up with that as much as I should have just because I'm so over it and Daniel Snyder's
Yeah.
just too much to be a part of the NFL anymore. So I'm glad that we're on the cusp of this deal getting done. So
Well, if you take the time to read those articles, man, some of those Washington Post articles, it's bad. Like
it's bad. It's
it's
bad.
terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad. Especially God, my guy Bruce Allen too. Oof.
Well,
Um,
this is gonna ultimately save like Roger Goodell too, because Roger Goodell just had inked that multi-year extension. But judging from these reports, it's pretty obvious that they were complicit in not in at least not penalizing the Commanders for what they did as an organization. So
well, how about
yeah.
Jerry Jones being interviewed at the owners meeting where they asked him straight up like, "Do you want to hear the rest of that report?" And he goes, "Yes, I do." And they're like, "Why?" Because I know it's all true.
Oh my god, he's got to have some skeletons in his closet though.
I mean, we kind of saw it this past year.
Although
Um,
nothing is crazy. Like this is the craziest thing to me out of this whole with Dan Snyder. Like not the craziest thing because obviously all those things where he was subjecting like cheerleaders
yeah.
and different women within the front office to harassment. Like that was just all that is what is at the top. But this was thrown in to the reports, but this is something that really got me. It's just that he put on his private plane the logo of the Commanders, and he was charging the team $4 million for it because he called it uh $4 million per like trip or whatever because he was calling it uh public advertising fees. They were paying him $4 million to put. So
Wait. Hold on. Who was paying him $4 million?
like that's what was unclear to me. But that I think it was like the team itself, or he was taking money from the team. It's
Daniel
not
Snyder
hit.
was taking money from his own goddamn team for advertising on a plane?
Yes, yeah, for advertising fees, he was charging like $4 million for it.
That
Yeah.
I got to look at that because that makes zero sense to me. But yeah, as far as Daniel Snyder being an owner in the NFL, that is going to come to an end pretty soon here. So
Bye bye.
yeah. As far as some other news on the field, actually, or players that actually play on the field, Buda Baker, really good safety in the NFL, wants a trade, wants to get out of Arizona. So we'll see if they accommodate that. I think they may get more draft capital from him than they would from DeAndre Hopkins at this point. Speaking of DeAndre Hopkins, this weekend he was at some fishing competition, and I guess Brian McFadden, um, former cornerback in the NFL, has a podcast. I think it's called All Things Covered. Interviewed DeAndre Hopkins and straight up asked him, let's get your facial expressions on teams that you want to go to. And he kind of like semi smiled when he brought up the Chiefs and Bills and then had no reaction to the Patriots and Jets. So that kind of gives you an inkling of where he wants to go. But then again, like I said last podcast, I don't think anybody's going to be able to trade for him at this point because he makes too much damn money. Then we got Dalvin Cook potentially being cut before the draft or possibly after the draft because he makes too much damn money too. So the Vikings can move on from him if a trade is not facilitated. And then finally, Devin White, linebacker for the Buccaneers. He wants to be traded too. And I would say that if any team should be interested in that, the Raiders' current linebacking core is not great. And that's putting it lightly. And I think that they should go after him. Maybe it would cost them like a second and a fourth. I think that they can get away with that. Now he does want 15 to 20 million a year, maybe a little too pricey in that aspect, but I think he's a good all around linebacker, much kind of more of like a pass rusher,
Yeah,
in that sense of getting sacks and whatnot. But I think that the Raiders should look into that possibly.
100%. I believe so too. I thought that immediately. But can we just do this one more time? I love doing this with Hopkins. Just looking at the starting quarterback league he had to play with when he was with Houston. Like this dude, I don't know, 3-time All Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, whatever Pro Bowler means. Only led the league in touchdowns once, but has normally been like a guy who can get you an average of, maybe 1,300 yards a season. I always wonder about like Hopkins and whether if he would have actually been given a star quarterback, how his career would have panned out because he has just consistently been like he has the best hands of any receiver. I think like this dude's hands are
Yep.
unbelievable. Like over the past decade that he's been playing, and just going back to 2013 and looking at these quarterbacks, I'm gonna pull it up, Derek. I got to. I just
I could probably list some of them.
you could of course you can.
Matt
Well,
Schaub.
Yeah, so he started off with 2013 was his rookie year. Matt Schaub and Case Keenum that year, both split 8 games. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, and Case Keenum 2014. Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates, and Brandon Weed in 2015. Four different quarterbacks. Brock Osweiler and Tom Savage. Tom Savage, Deshaun Watson, TJ Yates, and then you had the Deshaun Watson years from 2018 to 2020, and then
Kyler Murray.
And then of course Kyler Murray went by the time he was traded.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
like I always wonder about this dude, man. Of course he's gonna smirk when he wants the Chiefs or the Bills. Like you get to play with these two young up and coming quarterbacks that could be among the best that we've seen for this generation. Like, of course, go play with them.
Not surprised whatsoever. But at the same time, I'm kind of surprised where he's not into the idea of going to the Jets. But then again, like I don't even know how the Jets would afford him at this point. But then again, like I've listened to a lot of interviews lately. Like Adama Sue went on the Rich Eisen show and they asked him, "Would you want to join the Jets?" And he was like, "Honestly, I don't see them as a Super Bowl team, even with Aaron Rodgers." And I kind of agree. That's something we'll talk about more once that deal goes down. But I don't think a lot of people view that as like the same thing as Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers because it could just be a 1-year thing. And they also got to deal with the Bills and Dolphins of that division. And also, I'm not surprised that DeAndre Hopkins doesn't want to go to the Patriots because he hates Bill O'Brien.
But yes, there definitely there's a great point there. I don't know. And with the Jets, I think that's yet to be seen. I don't know. Was last year a product of him just having zero receivers, or was last year's just a product of like Rodgers, declining ever since receiving that contract? Like, what was that a product of? I think those questions have yet to be answered. I don't know. I want to call them a Super Bowl contender, but I certainly think they got to be a playoff team at least with Rodgers under the helm there, which is more than Hopkins can say for any team that he's really been on.
You would think, and right now with the Kings making the playoffs, they are the longest team without a playoff appearance in professional sports.
Yeah.
As far as the 4 major sports. Steven, I know you got to run to the softball game. Do we have time for a quick draft deep dive?
Go ahead. What do you got?
I got the tight ends. And listen, I know Steven kind of called me out last time when I was doing this with the wide receivers and everything. I'm not going through each draft eligible person and then going through their tape and whatnot. I look at what other people are saying, and they're saying who are the best guys at their positions, and I look and watch them, and then I give you my evaluation. So just to make it short and simple, there are 5 guys that I guess everyone's talking about how this draft class, as far as tight ends, is the best it's been in quite some time. And these 5 guys are mentioned as the best. You got Michael Mayer coming from Notre Dame. You got Dalton Kincaid from Utah, Darnell Washington from Georgia, Sam Laporta from Iowa, and Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. My impressions of all five of these guys, Michael Mayer is the best. He is equal parts good run blocker slash pass blocker slash good pass catching tight end. He's 6'4", 265. He, if I had to compliment anybody, like the nickname he has is Baby Gronk, and he looks like Rob Gronkowski. So I would say hands down, he's the best tight end in this draft class. Then you got Dalton Kincaid, who's kind of smaller. He's still as tall as Michael Mayer at 6'4", but he's 240 pounds. He's a little lighter. He's not much more of a blocker. And if I had to compare him to anybody, I think he's kind of like Zach Ertz, where, kind of leaner and going to catch a lot of passes, but not going to be a solid blocking tight end. But, Zach Ertz made a career out of being a pretty good pass catching tight end himself. Darnell Washington is the most interesting tight end of the group because he's huge.
Yeah.
He is 6'7", 269 pounds. He looks like an NBA center playing football.
Yeah.
Those
two previous guys you mentioned had like over 800 yards receiving. Darnell Washington only had 439 yards receiving last year in 15 games played.
He is more of a blocking tight end, but he is dominant when he does get the ball. He just powers over guys.
And plus, the other guy is Brock Huard on that Georgia team, right? Who's always taking up isn't that his name?
No, Brock Huard's the former college analyst.
Oh, shoot. Who am I thinking of? Brock Huard? What's his name? Oh, no. The tight end from Georgia. The big dude. Bowers. Brock Bowers.
Bowers.
My bad. Huard? Did I say Huard?
Brock Huard.
That's Great working way. That's way too much sports radio experience.
Oh yeah, Brock Huard's a Seattle sports radio dude. If I had to compare Darnell Washington to anybody, this is going to be kind of a reach here, but just how physical he is, I would say he's kind of like George Kittle in that he's equal parts good pass catching and blocking. But this guy is not. George Kittle, 6'4"? Darnell Washington's huge. So not in the measurables, they're different, but I think in their playing style, they're very similar. And then you got Sam Laporta, who kind of reminds me of Mike Gesicki, kind of similar to Dalton Kincaid, where he's not as big in the weight. He's 249 himself, but he's a good pass catching tight end. And then probably the last on my list is Luke Musgrave. He's 6'6", 255. Kind of similar to Michael Mayer in that he's good equal parts pass catching and blocking, but just a little less consistent as Michael Mayer. And if I had to compare him to anybody, he kind of reminds me of TJ Hawkinson. So there you go, as far as the tight ends.
There's going to be, it looks like, judging from this group, there's going to be a lot of day two picks, day two
tight
draft picks here. Yeah, not so much day one. Maybe one of them will go day one, but looks like there's going to be a lot of day two picks here because as I'm looking at the rankings, day two and day three are going to be heavy with tight ends by the looks of it.
I'm going to save. I had a lot to talk about with the streaming changes going on with NFL Sunday Ticket and HBO Max, but I'll say that for next time because we can do that anytime. And it's kind of bullshit. Lastly, before we get out of here, have you been keeping up with the show Barry, Steven?
No, I gotta. It's the one show I've always I haven't even watched the second season of it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I got started with him in the shop in episode 1, and I don't know. I just haven't made any headway with it.
Oh, God. I think hands down it's the best show on TV. And it's coming back tonight. And this is the final season. And I highly recommend it to anybody that's going to watch it. Bill Hader does a fantastic job. Equal parts goofy comedy and, serious drama. So highly recommended. And it's, starting back up tonight on HBO.
I think I watched the first season 8 times.
But you haven't watched anything else?
No, because I always go back to I always think, all right, I got to watch the first season, then move on to the second, then the third, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to watch it in chronological order. And then I always watch the first one and I'm like, damn, that was a lot. And then just never get back to it because there's always another show that pops up.
Dude, yeah. Cancel anything else you're watching right now. I think it's hands down the best show on TV.
All right. I'm watching
there you go.
Beef right now is what I'm watching.
Beef?
It's called Beef on Netflix.
Is that the rapper documentary?
No, it's a like a sitcom sort of drama. I'm really trying to figure out what the whole premise of it is. But right now, it just appears there's beef between the main character and this other character. It's like it's a very, how should I put it, deep type of show where it seems like there's a lot of symbolism involved, and symbolism that I'm not really understanding, because at the preface of it, it's just two people who really don't seem to like each other.
I tell me I'm not crazy. I want to say there was like an old like series of like talking about rappers that have beef with each other called Beef.
No, you're not crazy. No,
Okay,
I think
good.
that's right. I think that's right.
And the latest one would be E40 versus the King Security.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes down by Monday.
We shall see. Game 2 coming up on Monday. Steven, see you Tuesday?
Yeah, I can make that work.
Cool. And I'll be off a little early that night because we got a Giants late game that night. So, or
Gotcha.
midday. So I should be on for an earlier show that day. Ernie, thanks for joining us. Warriors will be fine, everybody. Yeah, we'll see how they adjust in game 2. Thanks to everybody watching and listening. And as we always say, Steven,
Oh, it's just your opinion.